What is going on, everybody? I hope everyone is doing well. I don't know about you guys, but I am absolutely psyched for a 3-day weekend. Let's see who's in the chat. I saw Loretta Hooch. Hello. Angry Homesteader. Welcome, welcome. Nate, thank you for joining me as always. Magic. This is completely off schedule. This was meant more as a fun. The bosses left me alone and everyone's pretty much cut out. So it was meant as a fun video, but it's also going to be educational too. So we'll see where it goes. Hello, Aqua Run. Hello, Starlight. Hello. Starting our weekend today here in Canada. Yep, same here. Same here. Um, I hope all of you guys enjoyed the intro. I've been playing around with a bunch of different software on my spare time, what spare time I do have. So I thought that one was cool. I have a few others kind of sitting in the wings. So came back from work this morning, and one of the local businesses went through the entire neighborhood and put little American flags in the corner of everybody's yard up and down our block. So the whole street has has little American flags in it, which I thought was really cool. My flag's back there on a stand, as you can see. I might put it out for the holiday. My problem is I forget it's there and then it rains and it gets messed up. So I've already had to replace one. But thank you. Thank you. Yeah, which this headset, I this one works really well for me. But hello and happy Canada Day. I didn't know there was a Canada Day. That's pretty cool. So hey Candy, how are you? Welcome, welcome. Everyone can hear me and see me okay, right? I mean, I can see myself, but my potato is has joined us. I'll let everyone. For those of you who have not seen my potato, that's my potato. Actually, that's the buffalo. The potato is elsewhere in the room somewhere. Usually, she's passed out under me if there's a thunderstorm, but not today. So, hey George, welcome. So, all right, everyone can hear me. So, I wanted to have some fun today because everyone's been talking about stressful shit. Um, like Russia and Ukraine and inflation, and we're not allowed to bring a flag to celebrate Canada Day. What? Do you bring whiskey? You're not allowed to bring a flag to celebrate Canada Day. That's so strange. What's Canada Day? I have no idea. I didn't know that. Is it like Independence Day or when they broke as their own country, or how does it? Yeah, you guys throw that in the chat. A new safety rule. With people whacking each other with the flagpoles? That's so weird. Well, yeah, but you have a stupid president. Ours just forgets where he is and shakes hand with no people. Um, he's not even. I can't call him a pendejo because, generally speaking, the man literally is like not there. I mean, pendejo is someone who should know better and then does dumb shit, and they get hurt. That's a pendejo. The president's more like not cognizant of his surroundings. It's our 4th of July. Okay, so basically the whole all because Cinco de Mayo was already passed. So basically, the northern countries in North America are all gonna have celebrations this weekend. That's very freaking cool. Okay, it celebrates the Confederation. Alrighty. And hey, what's going on, Sean? So a lot of people have posted about potential conflicts with Russia and how it could escalate hypothetically. And people, I've seen some people on other platforms freaking the hell out, which is not good. If you guys have watched me for any length of time, I try and put a little bit of science and common sense into what I post. But today I wanted to have fun, so I found a bunch of Cold War videos of different types that are interesting. They're educational, but they're also kind of stupid looking back. But at the time, people were very serious about this. So the Union of Nova Scotia and two of the provinces. Okay, well, that's cool. God, I haven't been to Canada in forever. Every time I go to Canada, I wind up with at least one epic hangover from the damn Molsons. The first time I went, nobody warned me that Molson Triple X actually has like 16% alcohol in a beer, whereas a Bud Light has 4. So you drink 3 or 4 of those and you can't feel your ears all of a sudden. Hey, Triple Threat, what's going on? So, yeah, I need to go visit Canada again. I always have a good time there. I like the people there too. I have so many friends who are from Canada. My boss is from Canada, and he's a hoot. So the Canadians fit well in Texas, the Western Canadians anyway, and folks from Nova Scotia do well. I just watched a little kid just completely wipe out on a what looks like a scooter, and he's up. Yeah, he's limping a little bit. He broke his ass. Just never a dull moment in my life. So, what I wanted to do today is I'm going to share some old school videos and we'll just kind of chat about them, have some fun with it. So, let's see. Let me know if I got the audio here. And I'm waiting for something to share. And my bougie backdrop with my little SWAT team guys. So I'm going to play this for you guys. Let me know if you can hear the audio.
Another realistic test is held. In a 2-story house on Main and Elm Streets, a mannequin family waits 3,500 feet from atomic destruction.
For any of you who've played Call of Duty, either for yourself or with your kids, that whole Nuketown episode and those maps, this is what spawned it.
They're lifeless dummies, but to the civil defense officials testing bomb shelters, they could help save lives. A second home stands a mile away. America is seeking through these drills to strengthen home front defenses, for their strength means our safety. Dozens of cars are on the streets of the ghost hamlet in Nevada. And marching to within 2 miles of the blast center, 1,500 GIs take cover in slit trenches, closer to an atomic explosion than any human being since Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
I love the dramatic music.
The blast's blinding flash silhouettes observers 7 miles away. Then its ugly mushroom cloud swirls skyward. Within an hour, the dirt-caked troops, all safe, have abandoned their foxholes and are pushing through a veil of dust as GIs pointing Geiger counters lead the way. The closest house is leveled by the blast, equal to 15,000 tons of TNT, but small.
By the way, true story, all the military medical records of these years had a fire, including my dad's, and they all burned up. Those GIs had no safety gear and were walking through what basically was a fallout zone.
All as A-bombs go. The second building, 7,500 feet from the explosion, still stands. Although protected by every device known to atomic scientists, troops are unable to penetrate to the blast center for many hours because of the deadly radioactive contamination shrouding the area. Val Peterson, Civil Defense Director, warns us to prepare, for this could be your house and your window. Here again, the atomic blast. 3,500 feet away, a split second later, past one of the cars exposed to the atomic.
Is it me or are those cars awesome? I mean, not that one, obviously, because it's radioactive, but they brought the ships back from the ocean tests and they were all radioactive. Oh, the ones that they dropped an atom bomb on and sunk in like the Bikini Atoll. I believe it.
Fury, a civil defense official finally is able to reach the rubble of the 2-story house we just saw topple. Almost unbelievably, mannequins in the basement bomb shelter are found to be unharmed. The second house seems to have suffered comparatively minor damage. Windows have been blown in. All Americans must work together, for the stronger our home front defense is, the less the chance an atomic attack will come.
You notice how dramatic they make this stuff sound. All that music and that guy's voice, and our future will be. It's almost like what you see now, but now they just scream and freak out. They don't, at least they back then they were a little bit classy, somewhat. But interesting to notice. So you notice how they had those guys in these little wonky suits and a Geiger counter. A lot of those guys got irradiated because they didn't understand the effect the fallout would have, and that's something a lot of people are freaking out about. It's like, oh, we could get into it with Russia, and things could happen. But in reality, one, I think neither country would want that. But two, there are a lot of lessons in some of this old stuff. A lot of these old videos were really prepper videos, but they were part of the civil defense stuff. And now people have forgotten a lot of these lessons. And I just think it's a shame that people don't realize this stuff is out there. I would be remiss though if I didn't put one of my favorite Cold War videos on. For those of you who didn't see my Cold War lessons last time, let me get rid of this commercial because God forbid I open a YouTube video without the commercial. And if you have seen this when you were a kid, please let me know because I'm super curious if anyone besides me saw this silliness. Hold on. It's not sharing. Hold on. There we go. Hang on just a second. Can you hear that? I heard about that Texas surplus. He did what we all must learn to do. You and you and you and you. Okay, I'm so curious right now. What happened to the monkey? Right? So the monkey's up there, right? Right, there's this little monkey, right? And he's causing mischief. What the hell happened to the monkey? Like, I asked that to my dad, and my dad, my mom's like, he ran away. And I'm thinking to myself, nah, he's blown up somewhere. He just left the screen. So by the way, he got vaporized exactly. Like, did children notice that? I didn't notice it when I was a really little kid, but watching it now, I'm like, where the fuck the monkey go? His ass got vaporized. So he's gone. Either he pieced out, or maybe that's him down here, this little turd looking thing at the bottom. I don't know. The turtle's fine, but um yes, bye monkey.
Be sure and remember what Bert the Turtle just did, friends, because every one of us must remember to do the same thing. That's what this film is all about.
Duck cover.
This is an official civil defense film produced in cooperation with the Federal Civil Defense Administration and in consultation with the Safety Commission of the National Education Association. Produced by Archer Productions, Incorporated. Hey, Bert.
There was something to be said about the old civil defense. It wasn't as organized as, say, FEMA was, and FEMA was not organized during Katrina, but it used to involve the communities a lot more. And now we have this government entity that's largely gets discombobulated during an emergency. And it has a lot of good people in it because I've gone out with them and I know what they're trying to do. But they really should go back. Has anybody heard of CERT, CERT? And just out of curiosity, those of you in the States and those of you in Canada, is there a civilian, I guess, civil defense type organization up there? Because I'm super curious, because with everything going on, whether it's riots or we get into it with China or something, that would be really helpful for the people. I'm just curious. And over here we have the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It's stuck in cover 6 feet apart with a mask on. No, it's Scream with the mask.
Come on out and meet all these nice people. Please?
Yeah.
All right. We really can't blame you. You see, Bert is a very, very careful fellow. When there's danger, this is the way he keeps from being hurt. Sometimes it even saves his life. That's why these children are practicing to duck and cover just as you do in your school. We all know the atomic bomb is very dangerous. Since it may be used against us, we must get ready for it, just as we are ready for many other dangers that are around us all the time. Fire is a danger. It can burn whole buildings if someone is careless.
Now, this video wouldn't be bad if you wanted to acquaint a kid, a younger child. If you show this to a teenager, they're going to roll their eyes. But you want to acquaint younger kids to something without giving them a freak out. I think this is what it was meant for. It was more like those elementary, junior high kids. Yeah, Texas Surplus. I actually met the local ham radio club last week, so I'm kind of doing some research on getting myself a. I was gonna get a Baofeng, but they're made in China, and I'm not sold on that because who knows? They have like evil spy chips or some shit. So I might wind up biting the bullet, spending a little more and getting a Yaesu out of Japan. Um, but yeah, yeah. And I'm assuming you're talking not the National Guard, the State Guard, like the Texas State Guard, because I've been a part of them at some point too. So uh, hopefully they reorganized. They were a little discombobulated. I heard they did. But yeah, state guard certs. If you don't have a civil defense organization, you can volunteer for the local emergency response. Most counties and provinces will have a plan. You can also speak to your volunteer fire departments, because even if all you're doing is cleaning gear and refurbishing equipment, that's something they don't have to do, and they can focus on their job. Plus, you get in the know. I have a Baofeng. What do you think of the Baofeng apartment prepper? You throw it in the chat. Let me know if you're happy with it or. Uh, okay, yeah, same. So about half the states, and that's not a bad thing because they answer to the governor. Because the National Guard could get sucked away in a big emergency. Um, having a local organization definitely makes more sense to me.
But we are ready for fires.
Watch
We
this
have a
fire
fine
truck
fire
if they
department
show
to
it.
put out the fire. And you have fire drill
I
in your
want that
school
fire
so you
truck
know what to do. Automobiles can be dangerous too.
or any
They
one of those
sometimes cause
vehicles.
bad accidents, but we are ready.
They're
We have
EMP
safety
and
rules
everything
that car
proof.
drivers and people who are walking must obey. Now, we must be ready for a new danger, the atomic bomb. First, you have to know what happens when an atomic bomb explodes.
No.
You will know when it comes. We hope it never comes, but we must get ready. It looks something like this. There is a bright flash, brighter than the sun, brighter than anything you've ever seen. If you are not ready and did not know what to do, it could hurt you in different ways. It could knock you down hard or throw you against a tree or a wall. It is such a big
So they're
explosion,
not
it
wrong. The
can
flash
smash
is
in
usually the
buildings and
first
knock
effect.
signboards over and break windows all
And
over
that
town.
did a lot of
But if
damage
you duck and cover like Bert, you will be
to
much
people in
safer.
Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
You know
Was
how
that
bad
that
sunburn can feel.
blinding
The
light?
atomic bomb flash could burn you worse than a terrible sunburn, especially where you're not covered. Now, you and I don't have shells to crawl into like Bert the Turtle, so we have to cover up in our own way. First, you duck, and then you cover.
Has Just out of
Try using a
curiosity,
ring
has
to
anyone
cover the back
seen
of your
the
neck with your face.
seen
Duck and
the
cover underneath a
South
table
Park
or
with the
desk
ducking
or
cover?
anything else close by. In Betty's school, they are talking about the atomic bomb, too. Betty is asking her teacher, how can we tell when the atomic bomb may explode? And her teacher is explaining that there are two
Yeah.
kinds of attack, with warning and without
And
any
they
warning.
could move.
We think that most of the time we will be warned before the bomb explodes. So there will be time for us to
Watching for
get into our homes,
protesters.
schools, or some other safe place.
So are they protesting Canada Day? That's
Our
so
civil
weird.
defense workers and our men in uniform will do everything they can to warn us before enemy planes can bring a bomb near us. You may be in your schoolyard playing when the signal comes. That signal means to stop whatever you are doing and get to the nearest safe place fast. Always remember, the flash of an atomic bomb can come at any time, no matter where you may be. You might be out playing at home when the warning comes. Then be sure to get into the house fast, where your parents have fixed a safe place for you to go.
Gotcha.
If you are not close to home when you hear the warning, go to the nearest safe cover. Know where you are to go, or ask an older person to help you.
Ask an older
You know the
person.
places marked with the S sign? They're safe places to go when you hear the alarm.
By the way, those of you who live in cities like New York, Ottawa, Calgary, those older buildings still have the fallout shelter underneath. They may not have equipment there anymore, but there is a fallout shelter in the most of those buildings. Most of them before like 1970 had one.
If there is a warning, you will hear it before the bomb explodes.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes, and this is very, very important, sometimes the bomb might explode without any warning. Then the first thing we would know about it would be the flash. And that means duck and cover fast, wherever you are. There's no time to look around or wait. Be like Bert. When there is a flash, duck and cover, and do it fast.
Duck and
Here
cover
are
while
some
the
older
monkey gets
boys showing what to
vaporized.
do if the flash comes when you are not in the classroom. This is what to do if you should be in a corridor. You duck and cover tight against the wall this way. Remember to keep your face and the back of your neck covered tightly. Try to fall away from windows or doors with glass in them.
This is when kids dressed up for school.
Then, if the glass breaks and flies through the air, it won't cut you.
So I
You
guess
must
if
be
you
in
want to
your lesson when the
introduce a
flash
kid to
comes.
the concepts, that's pretty fun. But you notice they do a lot of basic stuff. They don't talk. These were very weak atomic weapons back then compared to what you see now. So yeah, I can't imagine it either. Uh, how they're before you go to yeah, or in your underwear or in a thong or whatever the hell they're wearing now. You know, credit to Generation X. Granted, we wore parachute pants and other goofy looking shit, but we covered ourselves. Some of the stuff I'm seeing now is just like, holy crap. Um, Let me see if this is the video. Okay, this is actually a Smithsonian video of Mach 7 speeds too. Yeah. Yeah. Civics and penmanship and multiplication tables. I We have 20-year-olds I've met who do not know how to write a check. They're like, "Oh, I'll send you the money." Well, what if the Venmo doesn't work? How are you going to write a check? And they'll blank out. Defund. No kidding. Oh wow, I need to go see that. That would defund bunker. Is that the spelling for it? We'll that would be very cool. Let's see. Let's see. I got another one here for you. I think I do. Let me make sure I got the right video here. Uh oh, sorry. Let's start that
This
from the beginning.
house was 6,000 feet from ground zero.
This one's a modern take on the old
Other
video.
homes that were closer were incinerated.
Everybody has seen that very famous footage of the houses just
Can you guys
imploding
hear
and
it?
then exploding out. What happens first is that it gets hit by the heat, and so it blistered almost all of the paint. When you look on the back side of the house, you can still see some remnants of the paint. It ripped all the gutters off of the house. The chimney here was shifted about 6 inches. The blinds that were on the windows were all blown out, but otherwise, this house withstood the blast pressures and the heat from the nuclear test.
The Apple II bomb was placed in a tower 1,500 feet above the ground, so the resulting fireball wouldn't destroy monitoring equipment. Technicians built small towns within the blast zone. Shops, gas stations, dozens of homes made of brick and wood. They called the small cities doom towns.
Here, just before dawn, for the first time in our
No,
history,
they don't.
American homes will be exposed to atomic blast. Today, Main Street of every American city and town.
We had all kinds of houses built, grocery stores. We had the electrical systems.
Single
I mean,
story
they went
homes,
all out
two-story
for these
homes,
tests.
wooden,
Hey,
brick,
militant.
block, and so on. Different distances from the ground zero to see what the effects would be from the blast and the heat.
Inside the buildings, workers positioned entire families of mannequins who silently waited for the explosions to come.
Let's see what would happen to a normal, average family.
We had mannequins with all different types of clothing on, wool, cotton, rayon, nylon. Mannequins at a house at roughly 5,000 feet away. Had them sitting at the kitchen table. We had a lean-to in the basement.
The mannequins became some of the most famous participants of the tests.
Those mannequins that had radiation content, they never got them back, but the rest of them that didn't, they took them back. What they did with them, I don't know.
Scenes typical of the American family at home. First floor living room. Children at play, unaware of approaching disaster.
I love that TV too. You might. That's the truth. Yeah, we're missing Indiana Jones in that big metal fridge. But you notice a lot of these, they'll talk about the effects. Houses, if they're built right, will be a lot more robust than people think. Obviously, if something pops off right by your house, you're kind of hosed. But there used to be a time where they would put out useful information, or at least what they thought the public could benefit from. And having the food, the expectation during those days was you had canned goods, you had your basement bunker or whatever it was. And we went away from that for years. I guess we just, society got complacent. And now we have these, this kerfuffle over in Eastern Europe and all sorts of other weird stuff. Hell, somebody up in the chat said they were looking for police in Ottawa looking for protesters. And you never know. So a few lessons you could take from this is designate a safe area in the house. Obviously, if you live in tornado areas, you probably already have done this. But also, spread your preps out if you can. Put some food in different places, put equipment in different places. So, no, there wouldn't be. And I'm curious if it would be an asymmetric hit if it did go down that route, where it wouldn't be, someone shooting an ICBM at another country will be very obvious who did what. I'm thinking more disrupt the country, right? You do something internally to a country, you blow up a Walmart somewhere, and the US goes on some kind of lockdown. well, you've completely distracted the US from whatever so and so is doing overseas. So that concerns me more. Yeah, I don't I would think people with any clue would understand that pushing the red button would be terrible. Congestion that was built in the 30s. Oh, I'd love to see a picture of that building. That's pretty cool. And those buildings were built almost Gothic style, some of them. I mean, it was a lot of rock, a lot of solid, just solid material in those homes. It would. If have any of you seen the second Sicario movie with what's his name, Benicio del Toro, and the guy who plays Thanos? Um, I just blanked out, and I watch this guy all the time. But it's an old hospital. See, then that would probably be that was pre-nuke, but they just overbuilt shit in the 30s anyway. Um, Josh Brolin. The beginning of that movie opens with a scene of a bombing with the terrorists coming through the country. And then everything else spawns from there. Let me see if I can find that opening scene because I think it's relevant. Um, uh, yeah, Josh Brolin. Um, you can pull old lessons from some of these things. A well-built house, you notice the mannequins inside, and that's not just for nuke. If a tornado, a hurricane, some other natural event, unless it's a flood, being in the interior of your home, having a well-built home, obviously would be really beneficial for your survivability. I'm trying to see if I can find that scene because I thought that was all right. Let me see if this will work. Hold on a second. Bear with me because this is really one of the scenarios that I'm afraid of. Watching what's suspected to be supporters of the Freedom Convoy. Wow. All right, let me see if I can get this thing up. So this is being shared from Fandango movie clips. So and I'm saying that out loud so that the algorithm doesn't go in and give me a punt. My house was built in the 1730s. You can't even get a screw into it with a drill. Yeah, they use cypress and those old oaks. I think this is the scene. And that was the premise actually of um, the original Tom Clancy book, Some of All Fears, was the operatives would use the cartels to smuggle them across because they do it anyway. And then once here, they would start maneuvering around. So again, whether it's a nuke or just a regular bomb, making sure your preps are squared away. Again, like I said the other night, when you're traveling, making sure your travel gear, if you have a travel loadout or you have a travel bag, has what you need to get out and, if necessary, shield yourself from fallout, debris, stuff like that. Um, Obviously, you can only do so much. Uh, Sean said, it's rookie area here. Old money, folks. Most houses were built with Belgian blocks. God, see, that's freaking cool. That's those kind of buildings are. I wish they still made them. Let's put it like that. Uh, they don't just and that's the other thing. If we don't have a consistent rule at the border, it's just going to be a shit show. Even if they are stopping them, the perception is that they can just come in and run around. Um, they've recently stopped people, and any of you guys from Texas, Arizona can correct me if I'm wrong. Um, and again, it's not usually people from Mexico, because Mexican citizens can actually come in really easily and go back, like, because they've already worked that agreement out. They're coming from other countries. They stop some from Russia, Ukraine, Afghanistan, Poland, Iran, India, China. So some of those countries don't like us. And as someone pointed out before, you want to freak America out. Don't pop a nuke at the World Trade Center again. I mean, you could and would break, you know, screw up the city, but you want to scare the crap out of people, go and, destroy 5 or 6 Walmarts on a Saturday, all at the same time, and see what happens. And that's the kind of stuff a lot of these counterterrorism guys are kind of playing in their head, like, how do we stop that? But if right now, with so much nuclear material being unsupervised in Ukraine, that concerns the crap out of me, and that's part of why I kind of chose the theme of the old videos, the atomic lessons. Is you don't need a nuke. You could just pop a dirty bomb, put explosives with radioactive material. It could even be generally weak, but the perception in the public would scare the crap out of everyone, and the whole world had come to a halt. Remember what happened after 9/11. Uh, so, these are things, and these are really extreme examples, right? Um, but when you're traveling on the road, these are things you may want to keep in the back of your mind. Like, okay, if something happens, how do I get home? Uh, yeah, yeah. If they attacked rural areas, and they would obviously get that kind of like body count. I know that sounds awful, but that perception, that psychological perception of, oh, they're when the what was it, the DC sniper who was just some idiot shooting people out of the back of his car. He was shooting folks at gas stations, and he was doing it because they pump and they would just stand there. Usually you don't walk around and you weren't a moving target. And people in DC from like Delaware to Virginia, they freaked out. They didn't want to go gas up their cars because the perception was that they were going to get attacked pumping gas. Those are the kind of things that, those old Cold War movies can kind of give you some understanding of, okay, if that does happen, what can I do? What do I expect? And granted, some of it's dated material, right? Some of it's very dated. That Bert the Turtle's 1951. But this one's interesting because this is not only applicable to an atomic situation, but it's also applicable to an actual accident. The refineries in Baytown near Houston and refineries in California and Louisiana have had explosions and fires and just spewed garbage into the air that then forced people to shelter in place. So this video I thought was interesting. This is about fallout. Hey, Klingon, but don't just look at it for the nuke standpoint. Look at it at the larger picture of any kind of contaminant falling down on you. So let me see if I can share this one as well. And again, folks, this isn't to freak out about, but more watch them with a grain of salt and then pick what you can out of them. Because people have done the work to make these videos that we can benefit from. Can you hear that? I love this dramatic scrolling of words.
To begin with,
Hey, Glenn.
it may be surprising to know that radiation is something we live with every day. It has always been with us. Our own sun, like each of our millions of stars, is a raging nuclear furnace that shoots out showers of tiny particles, along with invisible rays that we call radiation. In an average lifetime, a person might expect to accumulate about 10 Roentgens, not enough to affect his health. We don't worry about these small amounts of natural background radiation.
It is.
But to safely handle larger amounts, we must keep our distance and shield ourselves. For as the amounts increase, so do
Yeah,
the
that
dangers.
UFO sound. Yeah.
The amount of energy generated by a nuclear explosion is enormous. Near the crater area, there is almost total destruction from blast and heat. Now, large amounts of pulverized debris and molten earth are pulled up into the mushroom cloud. The radioactive atoms produced in the explosion join with the particles of earth and debris. The mushroom-shaped cloud forms and climbs higher. It now contains billions of highly radioactive particles that we call fallout. The winds of the upper altitudes blow on the cloud, sending it in one or more directions.
By the way, a good lesson here, if you live near a chemical or nuclear plant or a refinery, you may want to know what your typical prevailing winds are, because all of those phenomenon, it doesn't have to be a terror attack or a Russia attacks us. It can be something as unfortunate as an industrial accident. You're going to have that same phenomenon. The explosion's going to kick everything straight up into the air, but the prevailing winds are going to drag it across a certain area. So knowing, hey Glenn, knowing where your prevailing winds are, and if you're downwind of something, knowing how to get around whatever it is, that's valuable kind of stuff. And these are the kind of more unexpected, but they're very low probability, but very high on the catastrophic scale when they happen. So Sturgill.
Some of the lighter particles may
I'm
remain
smack in the
suspended
middle.
in the atmosphere for days and travel thousands of miles before landing. But the heaviest particles drop to the ground within 24 hours. These are the most hazardous because they emit the largest amount of nuclear radiation. 100 miles from the explosion, they are about the size of table salt or fine sand. Within an hour, after a massive enemy attack, fallout would begin to be a serious problem in the vicinity
That's
of
an
any
interesting
nuclear
map, isn't
groundburst.
it?
7 hours later, the threatened areas cover more and more of the country as prevailing winds expand the fallout in downwind patterns. 24 hours, 48 hours, without shelter, millions would face death. Many people have difficulty understanding how silent, invisible rays, which cannot even be felt, could be so damaging. Our bodies are made up of
Yeah.
millions of cells. They're the building blocks of our blood and tissues. When radiation penetrates the body, the cells are injured. Most of them can repair themselves if the total dose over a period of time is not too high. But if radiation continues, the cells will be destroyed beyond repair. We measure radiation in Roentgens. If people received more than 200 Roentgens within a few days, many would be sick, and some might require medical care. 300 Roentgens could cause severe radiation sickness, or possibly death. And as we go beyond 300, the danger increases rapidly. But we are not without personal weapons of defense. One is distance.
And actually, Magic, that's a good point. There are radiation meters. Um, you have the old Geiger counter. They have a survey meter, which is for alpha, beta, and gamma particles, because I've used them. Then there's one for neutrons, and it has this bulbous detector. It looks just like the other one, but it has this big bulbous thing on it. The ones I've dealt with commercially were $1,000 units, but there are some more generic ones for like shop use and commercial use that are in the couple of hundred range or less. Um, but that's interesting because yeah, if you're near White Sands, and I've been near White Sands, yeah, there's a lot of activity there, and possibly that's an interesting premise because the radio frequencies of some of the atomic particles might actually mess with the AM. So I have to read that one again. 2 Peter 3. Actually, I'm going to write that down so I remember that. But yeah, for the time, this wasn't bad information. So I'm going to let this one play out because they're going to talk about time distance shielding, which I think is good for any contamination scenario.
Personal weapons of defense. One is distance. The greater our distance from the fallout particles, the less radiation we receive. Radiation from particles 50 feet away, for instance, would not affect us as much as from particles a few feet away. You would receive less radiation in the middle of a tall building than on the top or bottom floors, because there would be more distance and partitions between you and the source of the radiation, the fallout particles covering the roof and the ground around the building. Only an insignificant amount would get inside. And along with distance, we have the most important defense, mass. Any material with enough weight will keep the penetrating rays from hurting.
Yep. My computer's not loving me too much. Hang on a second here. There we go.
Materials provide good shielding from fallout radiation, and so would 2 feet of earth. And the greater the weight of the material between us and the fallout, the safer we would be. Taking a house as an example, it offers a small amount of mass and distance from radiation, but not enough protection in an area of heavy fallout. The fallout shelter is the best defense, whether in the basement of a single-family home or a large community shelter in, say, an apartment building. It offers the kind of protection from radiation you probably would need in case of nuclear attack. And along with mass and distance, we have a third invaluable ally, time. For deadly as radiation is, it has a fortunate weakness, a rapid rate of decay. Suppose a nuclear explosion takes place at 12 noon. By 1 o'clock, let's assume all the fallout is down. Then the total residual radiation would be at a high level. By 7 o'clock, it's down to 1/10. In 2 days, though still dangerous, it's only 1/100. But in 2 weeks, it's only 1/1000.
Right.
So
and
we
this
would not
goes
have
for a
to
lot
take
of other
maximum
contamination
precautions
scenarios
indefinitely.
as well.
We need food and water to survive. But if fallout settles on your food, the food itself isn't harmed or made radioactive, since radiation only damages living tissue. You simply remove the fallout particles using everyday methods of food preparation, peeling.
So that brings me to another point that I'd read somewhere is if you're in a chemical or nuclear, some kind of either attack or industrial issue, um, you get covered in radioactive material, you're going to have to take a shower, but it'll likely knock the power grid out. So you may not have water. So you may want to account when you do water preps to have a container or bin for cleaning. Because whatever clothes you're wearing, I wouldn't even wash them. They would be burned. I would throw them away. And you're going to have to wash yourself because the particles are on you. Um, So these videos today, they're in a mix of places. This was from Charlie Dean Archives. There's also another one called Nuclear Vault that you can find these videos on. Possibly Watchmen. I'm not sure. I guess it also depends what type of food.
Or washing. Fallout swallowed accidentally with food or in drinking water would do you no immediate harm. But for long-term safety, it's best to filter the fallout particles out. Actually, the hazard from contaminated food and water is very small compared with that from external gamma radiation. And hungry or thirsty people or animals should not be denied food and water because of possible contamination. If we remember these facts, if we act on them intelligently, we can increase our chances of surviving nuclear attack. And the key to survival is adequate shelter. That's why the federal government has a nationwide shelter program. The goal is adequate fallout shelter space for every man, woman, and child. And this goal can be reached. For with knowledge of radiation, we can face the facts about.
So that's one of those things. And again, not expecting, God forbid, we have a nuclear attack, but just understanding how the physics works can help you. Let me see. Periscope films is another one. Yes. So I'm going to show one. This isn't a video. This is a slide, but I think it's relevant. So the way the equation works for radiation is you've got time, distance, and shielding, but the way the equation is, distance is in which is measured the radius from you to the source, is a squared value in the denominator of the equation. So basically, time, minimize your time, shielding, get shielded, lead, metal, concrete. But then distance, you double your distance, you reduce your exposure levels to 1/4. So distance will make the biggest difference as far as trying to protect yourself from this kind of radiation. And I'm trying to see if the equations are out here somewhere. Oh, well, that didn't help. But so they keep saying facts, but no. And these are old videos when they did have civil defense the way I wish they still did. That's interesting. So yeah, folks, these are lessons you can apply, but what are the takeaways here, right? So one, whether it's God forbid a nuclear, and it could just be an accident, an attack, chemical, radiological, some kind of contaminant, time distance shielding, staying away from the initial incident. Obviously, an explosion, you get caught in that, you're kind of screwed. But the time distance shielding, when it comes to radiation distance, you double your distance, you quarter the radiation effect. So given the choice between fleeing, hey Nunya, welcome. Given the distance between, or rather, given the choice between hiding behind concrete or being able to get away in the same amount of time, I would recommend fleeing. But we do have to also account for, it's the same for chemicals, right? The time you're exposed, obviously, some will kill you pretty quick, but distance from the incident and protection, sealing up your house windows if you have an event. And I bring this up not just because of Russia, but because we're entering hurricane season. I've seen refineries catch fire, drilling rigs catch fire during the hurricanes. So these are things that can happen just, and then they're wrecking trains left and right lately. I don't even know what to say about that. You could be in a zone where you have this exposure, and this is at least gives you a plan of action. Like, okay, my primary mission is to get the hell away from whatever just happened. If you can't do that, okay, what are your other two? Well, then you have to go to either time, minimize your time there, or find protection for yourself. So when you're doing your commutes, you're traveling, you may want to plan out, hey, if something happens, where can I stay for a night so I can turn around and head home and not go to my destination? If you're at work, where can I go if there's some kind of situation where I can be shielded from chemical or some other incident? Yeah, absolutely, because the just the impedance or the impediment of having a mountain in between the blasts will make a difference. All right, Sean, thank you for joining me, and I need to go resurface my anvil. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to wrap this one up. This was kind of an off schedule, off the cuff live, but I was reading up on this stuff. I thought I'd share some of my thoughts. Um, Folks, there's a lot of little takeaways. Go look on YouTube, the other resources, and just look at some of these old videos. Not all of them are accurate anymore. They're outdated, but you can definitely get some little takeaways, and it gives you an idea. One that popped in my head when I was putting these together was, do I have enough potable water, not just drinking, but if I need to decontaminate someone from chemical exposure or radiation to get the fallout off of them? Um, Something to think about, especially you live near a military base or a high priority city. So you guys be safe. I hope you enjoyed some of these old retro videos. I always get a kick out of watching them. They're so damn dramatic. But guys, be safe, be careful, have a great 4th of July. I may or may not do a live this weekend, so I may just see you guys next Tuesday. So y'all be good, be safe out there.